No, oh, there we go. A word of welcome to those of you joining us on Facebook Live and other streaming places, and certainly a word of welcome to all those gathered, and appreciate their forbearance and as we learn our technology and get the Word of God out as we stream our sermons. Today we are continuing our sermon series on the Psalms. As we noted last week, the Psalms are pretty good about capturing the reality of our human experience. They describe the reality of our lives. We talked about Psalms falling into the categories of praise, of lament, of thanks, and call to praise. And this week we have Psalm 13. And Psalm 13 is certainly a psalm of lament. It is a cry for help. I generally think that our good news, our hope in Christ, is a really great story. It is a story that is upbeat and feels good to tell, and I hope it feels good to hear the promise and hope of being people of Christ, of being in Christ. It's a certain kind of vibe that is kind of fun to preach. But then there are other times when the Bible is so good at describing our reality that you just have to go with what the Bible is telling us. You have to go with all the emotions that the Bible verses may be capturing. Listen to the words of Psalm 13 again and tell me how many emotions you see or hear or experience in those words. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death, and my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trust in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. How many emotions did you find in that? How many feelings came out in hearing those words again? What emotions did you hear? Hopelessness. Fear. Yeah. Despair. Heartbreak.
Joy.
You heard joy. There's something that comes in at the end, isn't there? The psalmist knows what's coming up. And so there is joy. Ultimately, there is joy. Once again, the psalm hits us where we live. We hope and work for a life free of worries, but we know life doesn't work that way. We know full well none of us gets to escape the heartbreak of broken relationships. None of us gets to avoid the sense of hopelessness that can surround us. None of us gets to avoid the despair of someone we love dying. The other emotions evoked by this psalm connect with where we live. Very few of us have not experienced the entire range of emotions that this psalm points out. The psalmist shares with us in Psalm 13. None of us escapes those in our life. I wish I could say that the Psalms of Lament were the easy resolution to whatever is causing the heartbreak, hopelessness, and despair in our lives. It would be nice to say that all we need to do, lift up our laments, and everything will be taken care of. Our prayers for help will lift up, and then all will be well, and we can move on with our lives. Thank you very much. Somehow it should be that we turn to God, and God fixes everything just the way we want it. But I can't. It would be nice if I could, but it doesn't work that way, and I can't. It doesn't work that way. We talk about lifting our heartbreak, our hopelessness, and our despair to God in prayers, and it is indeed right that we should do exactly that. We talk about lifting it up to God. But there are times that it doesn't seem to make much difference to God, what we lift up. There are times that it doesn't make much difference to us, what we lift up. How many times have we heard the same heartbreak, the same hopelessness, the same despair for ourselves or for others, and we say, no, not again. No. And then wept at our inability to make a difference. My colleague John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, captured this pretty well. He gave me permission to use it today. He wrote this: I am tired of writing. Writing words like heartache, mourning, crying, outrage. I am tired of shaking my fists at the heavens, yelling, why? How long? What the? I am tired of feelings that show up as wrenching the gut, as water flowing down my cheeks, as the need to wrap every single loved one tight within my embrace. I am tired, so I sit, not able to hold my body up. My legs give out, so I sit. I sit with the ones that have lost loved ones, that have lost hope and faith. I sit in the ashes with those who are already there. Hope that as tired as I am, I will recognize that those sitting with me are the very person of Jesus. There's the key to it all, I think. God does not control the world such that we are all robots. Bad things are happening, and our hearts are broken, and we lose our hope, and we sit in the dark pit of despair. But what never changes is God's presence with us. God is present and listening in our heartbreak, hopelessness, and despair. God is present by the people that we surround ourselves with, the people who stand by us in our heartbreak, hopelessness, and despair. In many ministry circles, we have a name for this. It's called ministry of presence. And it is exactly what it's called. It is the presence of people around us who minister to us. It's the idea that when we are in crisis, we will not likely remember the words that were said, but we will likely remember those who were with us in our crisis. My mom died a little over 30 years ago. And to be honest with you, I don't remember one thing that any person said. Not one in their attempts to support my grief. But I'll tell you this. I have mental images even to this day of those who were there. Those who were with me, giving me their ministry of presence. God is also with us in the real presence of Christ, and when we come to the table that Christ has prepared for us. We're remembered of God's presence that surrounds us every day and twice on Sundays. When we come to the table and we are filled once again with God's presence in our lives, the real presence of Christ that we find in the bread and the wine of the sacrament. A presence that is promised to us when we gather around the table. A presence that we can depend on. The presence of God that never leaves us. The presence of God that sustains us. The presence of God in our hour of heartbreak, hopelessness, and despair. Thanks be to God. Amen. I invite you to please stand as you are comfortable and able to continue worship and song.